So Susie, we're thrilled to have you here with us in celebration of International Women's Day, especially to salute the work that you do with the elderly on a daily basis. And as a part, thank you for being a guest and also being a consummate advisor at Vivavalet. We're really proud to have you in that role, and we adore having the input you have for the elderly, for adult children, and for adult children who happen to be the sandwich generation. So I'm a sandwich generationer, you're a sandwich generationer. So can you talk to me a little bit about some of the stresses that are associated with being a sandwich generation person? And for example, what are 5 conversations that you might want to have to talk to the elderly as a sandwich generation mother?
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Jennifer, for having me. And I would say that when you talk about sandwich generation, I'm like a club sandwich because I have, older parents and I have children and I have grandchildren. So I feel like I'm in there somewhere like a club sandwich. But yes, the top 5 conversations that I think are important to have with my older parents, your older parents. Number one, I would want to go for the personal, to try to always connect my heart to my older parents. And so I would ask them, what are your fondest memories of raising me? And just listen. And I think anytime I could connect with the heart of my parents, it just helps everything to be go more smoothly, because a lot of things end up being logistics and problem solving. And, that doesn't really do much for our heart and our relationships. That would be my number one. And number 2, I would say is I would ask my parents, what is your process whenever you need help, when you need to pay for help? What is your process for vetting these people? And again, listen, because I think a lot of older adults are struggling with this, especially if they're not internet savvy. They're not sure how to find people now. I have older adults I come in contact with that honestly ask if there's still a Yellow Pages. That's what they're used to. And so
online. There is online. Right?
Yes. But a lot of them are still afraid of the internet, and they're even afraid to, put any of their information in. They're not sure what things are safe. And so what I would do is reassure my parents that I can help you with that. First I want to ask them what they're doing, and maybe they're great in that department, but I would let them know I want to help you with that, because I have some more tools in that department. And then my third one is I would ask my parents, do you have a plan to retire from driving someday? And this is just a fascinating subject for me, because I would say 99% of people I've asked this question, older adults, they say no. They don't think about this. And then I kind of joke around and say, do you plan to drive until the day you die? Do you think that you will drive, that's a realistic expectation? Because it really isn't. And this need to retire from driving a lot of times comes as a shock and a surprise, or it is taken, the right to drive is taken from people. And research has shown that this loss of being able to drive is only second to the loss of a spouse. It can be devastating for people, the loss of independence and autonomy. So any time that I can sort of try to get ahead of these things and bring it up to my parents that, most men will stop driving 7 years before they die, and women, it's 10 years usually, whether their doctor says they can't or they choose to, give it up because of a bad accident or something. So let's think about it. Let's not pretend that that's not a possibility. So then we can talk about, well, what would we do? What would you do? What will I do when I'm not driving? And then I can tell them about the solutions that I know about. So my number 4 is talk about power of attorney documents. This is something that is relatively simple, but can alleviate so many problems. Power of attorney for healthcare decisions and power of attorney for finances. A lot of people just, procrastinate on this until there's a problem. And then it's very difficult to put this in motion when someone is incapacitated. pretty much almost impossible unless you go down a conservatorship route, which is expensive and time consuming. So I definitely will talk to my parents. I have talked to my parents about this, and I've talked to my children about this, and I've shown them my own power of attorney that I've already created. I've shown them where they can find it. I've shown them where I have listed them as my agent. And I feel, that brings everybody a lot more peace of mind. It's just it's a settled thing. It's not hanging out there like I should do this, or somebody wondering, is this done, And what that does is that allows your agents to speak for you if you can't speak. It allows your agents to tell hospital or doctor, physicians what you would want in the medical setting. And then financially, it allows them to be able to access your money. If let's say you're laying in a coma, they can pay your bills, and it's not a big legal thing that they have to go through. And then my number 5 would be to ask my parents, what are your end of life wishes? And I know that this can be an uncomfortable conversation for some. Some people are very uncomfortable talking about death and dying. And so it is something you have to use sensitivity with, but it's, again, saves so much stress on family members when they have it left to wonder. I wonder if my mom wanted to be buried or cremated. I wonder if dad wanted a memorial service or not. And so just having that conversation ahead of time, if you can, it's just brings so much more peace. So those are my top 5 conversations.
So the top 5 conversations for sandwich generation women, because it's the burden of care that's often really being saddled by these women who are managing both sides of the life cycle. So we go back, make sure we have end of life plan, make sure that we have power of attorney discussion with our parents, make sure that we have discuss the plan for driving, and talk about the stories that we have, the stories of raising us, and give them love. I think that's just wonderful. So thank you for that, Susie. That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that, especially on International Women's Day, and how we can promote women and make life a little easier for women who are managing the sandwich generation.
Absolutely.